year against New England if they had a quarterback that could make some plays downfield. I don't know. I just don't think. I know these cats got egos. I know these cats got egos, man, and I don't think the Houston Texans are going to admit that they made a mistake this early, 1 year after the fact, with Brock Osweiler and bring in Tony Romo. So I think it's going to be Denver. We will see. Let me read some messages in the chat room on Spreaker.com from Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. So what if the Texans admit they made a mistake, get Romo, and cut that Brock? Bro, are you kidding me? Money is money. They gave Brock Osweiler, I want to say $40 million guaranteed or something crazy like that. And I'll try to pull it up here in a second. Nah, you're just not going to cut bait like that. If anything, they'll keep him on the team, and they'll just bite the bullet and pay Romo whatever salary he's going to command, which, by the way, I don't think that's going to be a big salary. I don't think that Romo's going to get a huge amount of money in relative terms on the open market because of his situation with the injuries right now. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. So Brock Osweiler, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. I'm trying to pull up Brock Osweiler's contract. And for some reason, it's not working. I can't even pull it up. Let's see, 25th salary. He makes $4 million a year. I'm trying to find the bonus that he got. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. This is bad. $72 million contract. He signed a 4-year, $72 million contract with $37 million guaranteed. Nah, bruh. They can't let that man go. They're not going to do that. They won't do that. They owe this man $37 million. And remember now, he's young. In relative terms, he's young. So maybe he can learn under Tony Romo or whatever and improve his game, and he'll be their quarterback for the next 8-10 years or whatever. All right? But they're not going to cut bait on Brock Osweiler when they owe this man $37 million. If they cut him, you know they have to pay him still the $37 million. All right? The rest of the contract is irrelevant. But they would owe this man all of that signing bonus. All right? He didn't quit. He didn't do anything not to get his bonus money. He wants his money. That's not going to happen. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, he ain't going to play. If they bring Romo in, at some point, Romo will be the starter probably. That's the only reason you would do that, okay? But they're going to put him on the bench. And even if he ain't doing nothing, they'll make him cut grass or something like that, mow the lawn. They'll make him do something to earn that money. That ain't going to happen. Like, they have really boxed themselves in a situation here, you know? I don't think that they'd make the deal for Romo because they'd have egg all over their face, and it'll be basically admitting that they were wrong. But they may be wrong, okay? But they're not going to cut this guy and still have to pay him $37 million, especially at his young age, and with the thought that maybe he'll get better over time, which happens, you know? So the book is still out on Brock Osweiler. But there's no way, even if they bring in Tony Romo, there's no way that they're going to bring in Romo and cut Brock Osweiler and still owe him, you know, the large part of $37 million. That ain't going to happen. From Thorny Switch, yes, young and terrible. What's the point of keeping that dead weight? The point is you're going to give him $37 million. There's really no point. If you don't think that he's going to be a good quarterback going forward, there's no reason to keep him. But I'm sure they're telling themselves that, you know, he'll stick around a little bit and he'll mature and he'll get better and he'll be able to read defenses more. And Tony Romo, being under Tony Romo's wing, will help him, going forward. That's what they're going to convince themselves of. And really, it's not a big thing to convince yourself of. It makes sense. You know, you saw something in this guy to give him $37 million. Me and most football fans think that you made a big mistake. But it's possible. It's possible he could get better. You know, I don't know. It's possible. They're not going to do that. Jan from the suburb of the Shawty. Doug, yes, they can. They should hold on to Brock. More years as a backup, but NFL franchises should be in the game to win. You ain't winning with Brock right now, and they are going to eventually start losing those horses on defense to free agency. So what he's saying is, as far as the Houston Texans, that they should go ahead and try to bring in Tony Romo. I don't think that they will, because it would kind of be an admission that they were wrong about Brock Osweiler. And you know what? It's kind of like a political thing. You know, I guess maybe at the end of the day, if they feel very confident that Tony Romo can make it through a couple of games without injury, and they feel like that he's the last missing piece to help them win a Super Bowl, I guess it's worth it. Now, these owners are billionaires. You know, they got money. So owing Brock Osweiler $37 million at the end of the day for a billionaire probably ain't that big of a deal. You know, but I just think it's the whole ego thing that's going to come into play. Like, you're going to bring in Tony Romo to start for this team, and you paid this guy $37 million? That's not a good look at all. So we'll see. From Sidney Jackson, Texas should go Kaepernick and say F Romo and Osweiler. They're not going to go Kaepernick and still owe Brock Osweiler $37 million. That ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. I would be very surprised, not just Tony Romo. You're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. Not just Tony Romo. I would be very surprised if they went out and got a free agent quarterback. Whether it's Kaepernick, not Tyrod Taylor anymore. He redid his deal with the Buffalo Bills. We'll get into that here in a second. But I don't care who it is. Like, the contract that you gave this Brock Osweiler cat has basically handcuffed you. You know, even if you wanted to go out and get somebody else, even if you wanted to draft the quarterback, you know, even if you wanted to do something different, period, you kind of restricted your ability to do that because of this money you owe this Brock Osweiler kid. You really fucked up. Yeah. I mean, it's as simple as that. From Finance John E., Seahawks admitted their mistake with Matt Flynn and paid Russell Wilson despite all the money they gave Flynn. That is a perfect example. You're right. You are absolutely right, and I was shocked when that happened. So it is possible. That's a perfect example, Finance Johnny, and it looks like a new name in the chat room. Welcome to the Doug Stewart Show chat room. Yeah, nobody in the world thought after the Seahawks gave Matt Flynn that money that Russell Wilson, what was Russell Wilson, like a fourth-round pick, would come in there and earn the starting job. You know, and I just think that's Pete Carroll's whole mentality about competition on the field and being a college coach for the most part of his career, is that he didn't care about the politics and the money. And evidently, the Seahawks had the money where they could just basically chalk up the Matt Flynn signing as an L and go ahead and let Russell Wilson start. And it must have been a situation with that, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, it had to have been. None of us were in training camps with the Seattle Seahawks that year when Russell Wilson was a rookie. It had to have been so glaringly obvious. And Matt Flynn had to look so shitty. I mean, Matt Flynn had to look so bad to start a rookie fourth-round quarterback after you gave him that big signing bonus and basically said that this is your quarterback in the future. He had to look so bad in training camp that they had to do it. Because if you think about it, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, if they were anywhere close, you know, to you believing they were going to give you the same output, okay? If they were anywhere close, if Matt Flynn was anywhere in the same conversation as a performance and what they did in training camp close to Russell Wilson, he would have got the job. So the fact that he didn't tells me he was shitty. Yeah, I mean, he had to have been horrible for Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks to say, we're going to start this rookie kid, you know, to start our franchise, to be the starting quarterback for our franchise over this guy that we gave all this money to. So I would say that that's probably an aberration. Like, if you talk about in the annals of the NFL and the history of the NFL with that same type of scenario, that's probably one of maybe 2 or 3 times in the history of the game. You know, in the 300, 400 different times and scenarios where that came into play, where you had a rookie quarterback coming from the 4th round or lower, let's just say, to taking the job from a guy that the team invested this big-ass salary in, that rarely happens. But it did happen. So I guess it technically could happen in Houston where they just basically, you know, swallow their losses and say, yeah, bring Tony Romo in and we'll bench Brock Osweiler. But I doubt it. Another thing about that, too, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, it's a little bit different. It's a very good point. I'm not trying to take away the point that you made. It's a very good point that you made about Russell Wilson and Matt Flynn in Seattle. But the difference is a slight difference in this scenario because Tony Romo is old and decrepit. He's 37 years old. The most you're going to get out of him is 1, maybe 2 years, and I doubt that. I'm calling it 1 or 2 games, okay? So you bring in Tony Romo, give him the starter's job over Brock Osweiler, so what you kind of do to Osweiler, this guy that you invested in, you kind of impede his progress, okay? You kind of impede his progress. You kind of take it with his confidence as well. I don't know. I mean, if you put all of the variables into the equation, bringing in Tony Romo for a year, maybe 2 years, impeding the progress of Brock Osweiler, who you owe $37 million to, it doesn't make sense. If you were bringing in a guy, in the case of Russell Wilson, that's got 10, 12, 13 years of football in him at the beginning of his career, it makes more sense. But Tony Romo? Nah. It was a great example, a great point you made, sir, about Russell Wilson and Matt Flynn. I think this is slightly different. Nah, I don't see it. All right, when we get back from the break, man, we'll jump into the chat room, read a lot of your chat messages. And also, man, we'll talk a little bit more about some of these NFL free agent deals that have come apart or come upon us in the last 24 hours. Still paying homage to the great Biggie Smalls, doing what we do. Free Big Worm. Right. Free Big Worm. Back in 3 minutes, the Doug Stewart Show.
Life, nigga staying real right. That goose got a nigga feeling real tight. Them J's got a nigga feeling real fly. That fruit that I'm serving keep them hoes nigga real high. That crown fit won't let them hoes pass me by. Or maybe I lie. It could be the gold chain or the 6 gold teeth that real fine. It don't matter what it is, as long as I stay fly. I gotta feel that way, cause I only got one life. So I'm sleeping with the tape, nigga, fuck the night. Cause these niggas living tripe. And I ain't tryna go down that road. Tryna keep my peoples happy and my pockets swole. So you can act like you don't know. I'ma hit you with the pistol. And still be making moves and getting dough. On the low, stove sipping goose, getting loose, nigga, for show. Drunk as a skunk, nigga, fly as a dove. Drunk as a skunk, nigga, fly as a dove. Drunk as a skunk, nigga, fly as a dove. Chillin' with my nigga Pete. Drunk as a skunk, nigga, fly as a dove. Drunk as a skunk, nigga, fly as a dove. Drunk as a skunk, nigga, fly as a got a kick in the dough with the 44 flow. 20 G's for a show. I want half of